Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the 208th Knowledge Seekers Workshop for Thursday, January 25th, 2018. And my name's Rick Crammond, your host. Been host for the last 208 Knowledge Seekers, 207 Knowledge Seekers workshops. And today is kind of a special day because it's the 4-year anniversary of continuous Knowledge Seekers workshops every Thursday at the same time for 52 weeks times 4 years is 208. And I think that's really special, and it's a tribute to Mr. Keshe for his persistence and stamina and longevity through all of this. There's been a lot of knowledge and a lot of evolution of this teaching over the last years. And well, I think Mr. Keshe can attest to that, and I think he's ready to begin today. And I plan on showing a clip from the first public teaching workshop as well, but I'll let Mr. Keshe speak first here. Mr. Keshe, are you there? Not hearing any audio at this point. Is there audio happening for others or no? Apparently there's I'm not sure what's going on with my...
Rick, I don't hear anything either.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Vince. I thought I'd totally lost my audio connection there because a couple of microphones came open, but nobody spoke. All right. Well, we'll wait a minute for Mr. Keshe may have an issue with the microphone connection there briefly. Well, maybe I'll get that video keyed up, and we'll sort of maybe even show parts of that as we've beginning. So let me share the screen here. And get this lined up. So what I have here is a clip from, let's get that lined up, from the first Keshe public teaching workshop. And this was in March of 2013. And the public teaching workshops began from the Keshe Plasma reactor group that I had started on Tuesday nights for about a year before the public teaching workshop, I think it was. And we would meet regularly in Skype and discuss about the Keshe reactors and this kind of thing. So Mr. Keshe wanted to go public with these experiments and the work we were doing. And so he suggested to have the public teaching workshop series, which, like I say, we started in March of 2013. And that was a series of 10 videos, and they came out roughly once a month over the next year. And then they became the Knowledge Seekers Workshop. So we had the first Knowledge Seekers Workshop, I think it was in, is it
6th of March 2014, 1 year later.
Mm-hmm.
The best thing I remember about it is that we went from once a month to once a week, and that was very scary and frustrating and exciting at the same time.
Exactly. That's what I remember about that too, because the first this first public teaching workshop that we're about to see here It's about 2 hours long, but I had to break it into 8 15-minute parts just to edit it. Back then, YouTube would not accept more than a 15-minute video at a time. And it took me so long just to edit one 15-minute video. I was very sort of meticulous and put in sort of additional things and so on. And it just took a long time. And to upload it and all that was more time consuming then. And it took me a whole month to do this first public teaching workshop. Fortunately, the next one wasn't until a month later, and it took me about a month to do the next one and so on. But by the end of a year, I got a little better at it. But then, like you say, Vince, this transition to go to the Knowledge Seekers workshop once a week, that was like, oh, once a week. I don't, how am I going to edit? How am I going to get these videos out and so on? And that became part of the challenge, to try to produce the videos without having to edit them too much and try to do it all in one shot and this kind of thing. And of course, Mr. Keshe, in his way, we decided to not only have the Knowledge Seekers workshop, but also have all these private teachings and public teachings on a daily basis after that. And at that point, well, it was pretty tough, but we worked through it, and we're still doing these daily teachings in private and public and various workshops. So just a bit of
I'm glad to see it
background.
expand so much as well. It's not only just the English private.
That's right.
Private teachings now. It's so many more.
Yes, and all the new Knowledge Seekers workshops that come out are transcribed within a few days, and with the translations available as captions and subscripts as well. But I do notice, and I've kind of forgotten about this for a while, but the original Knowledge Seekers workshops need to be transcribed from the first Knowledge Seekers workshops and so on. There is an actual transcript available, a PDF transcript, but the captions need to be put on from the transcript or from other sources. So that's a bit of a huge job. There's about 150 Knowledge Seekers workshops or something like that that need to have transcriptions done. So this is a plea for those that are good at transcribing or would even like to learn. There is an opportunity now to join the transcription team, which are working very diligently to keep up with the flow of the current videos, and they can slowly work backwards as well, but they could really use a lot of help for the older workshops, and that way it comes up easily in Google searches and whatnot, and it goes right to the parts in the video that you're interested in if the captions are up and on the videos. And it makes it so much easier to do the translations, and you can do automatic translations as well. And people get much more understanding out of the older videos, which are full of wonderful insights and various things that are sort of more raw and fresh than they are now, because Mr. Keshe was just sort of working with these ideas, even though he already worked with them for years beforehand and so on. So I'd like to show this clip out of the first public teaching workshop. And this is at 26 minutes into it. And we've been discussing about plasma. And so actually, well, I was going to show a bit of the very first of it, and we can show what the let me show that first as a setup here. I'll just show the beginning of the video, and you'll be able to see what it looks like in the very first beginning public teaching workshop. I'll show a couple of minutes of the beginning, and then I'll go to that position in the video that I was talking about there. Okay, let me begin here. We've got Skype happening right now. There's a number of people I need to bring into the conversation if we wish to do that. Okay, I'm just, there's 1, 2, yeah, we're 3 or 4 on Skype, and we have 2 other people than myself right here, right now, live as well. And there's other people that will probably come on Skype. I'll put on Lady Dragon. She's Lady Dragon, yes. I thought you might have run into her before. She's quite a character. I've just recently made contact with her. We also have a lot. Let me just stop the video briefly there and kind of laugh in the background here. Guy, you remember Lady Dragon, don't you?
Oh yeah, yeah. She's a woman that was from back east, from Quebec, I guess.
Yes, right. Yeah. Yeah, she was interested in the technology for quite a while there. Anyway, I wanted to show feed for Justin TV right now. Just the, and there's how many people on the Justin TV? Does it say 5 or 6 or something? There we go. We got 6 people on Justin. Hi,
where can I
hi,
find
Lady Dragon. And the people on the Skype call. I can hear you. Can you hear, Lady? And I just wanted to show sort of the setup there initially and whatnot. Let me go back to that other. I have to get it and reset it over on the other video. I think this will do it. Okay, this is into 24 minutes and 36 seconds into this first public teaching workshop. So let me just play that part. Let me just redo this then.
It's stood off in the backup. Yeah, I see the plasma in the line now.
Yeah, it's just starting to sort of get going there now with as the pressure drops.
How come we don't have it?
I don't know. It's different this time. So, depending on some of the that's a different effect now than when it's at the very high vacuum. Just takes a little bit of vacuum that's less to create a totally different sort of phenomenon there. And right now that, pardon me?
Do you understand the reason behind it?
Well, I understand that the plasma changes with the pressure quite a bit in terms of the way
Well, you have a gas tube inside. The pressure has nothing to do with the pressure. When you vacuum the system, is literally you reduce the number of the elements inside, so you allow the plasma of a proton of what is inside the chamber to open up, so your plasma inside the light connects to the energy or magnetic field of the gas element which is outside it, which you remove. So in fact, it's a connection of magnetic fields that allows the different different shape of the plasma. The more you extract, it's just like a balloon, it opens up more. So the plasma is freer. This is how you generate electricity or power. When you create a vacuum, you allow 1 or 2 or let's say a very limited number of plasmas or atoms in, you strip it, now you play with the game. This is a very nice way to show the opening of a plasma. Here, in a normal condition, when you're not a plasma, it's like having 20, 30 blankets on top of you.
Exactly.
As you take the blankets away, the plasmas which are left in there, there is no full vacuum state in the universe.
Right.
Vacuum is a wrong word in the vocabulary. There is nowhere in the universe which some magnetic fields are not traveling through it.
And even having hydrogen atoms and so on in every square or every cubic centimeter. There's a few.
That single, if you have a single atom in a cubic meter, that plasma will cover the whole cubic meter. Yeah. So
right.
when you
this is a hard concept to get your heads around. But I've run across this. I understand. Okay, I just wanted to stop it there briefly. I'll go on for a bit, but that's actually one of my favorite quotes from Mr. Keshe right there. I'll just back it up a little bit. Where was it here? There's a few.
That single, if you have a single atom in a cubic meter, that plasma will cover the whole cubic meter. Yeah.
So I thought that was a really great image for me at that time, and still is. In fact, I used that in the plasma reactor group the other day. That image of there is if there's a cubic meter and there's even a single hydrogen atom in that cubic meter, which according to the scientists, there's at least one hydrogen atom, in fact quite a bit more in everywhere in the universe that they've been able to look at. Everywhere has this at least one hydrogen atom in every cubic meter. And Mr. Keshe says the fields of that one atom in a vacuum condition will open up and will open up to a full meter in a fill that cubic meter with the fields of even one atom. And that to me was a very big idea at that time, because we were working with vacuum condition inside of a vacuum chamber. And the more you vacuum it out, the more the fields of the material stuff that's still left in the vacuum chamber opens up. So it gives I called it elbow room. It gives the atoms or molecules elbow room to open up into allow their fields to flow into and to fill the space. Okay, I'll just continue playing here. I think we're still waiting for Mr. Keshe. Having trouble with the connection in the background. Is that true, team?
Yeah, we're still having issues getting to him.
Okay, well, we've got, at least 200 workshops that we can play through here. So lots of material to work with. We need to. But I could just let this play because I found there's, I'll do a bit of commentary on this so we can fill the time a bit with before Mr. Keshe comes back. But it's important, I think, because to me at this time, there's some really important concepts that came out, and some of through this whole 2 hours, there were key concepts and ideas that were very important, and so in a way we have some key quotes from Mr. Keshe, or some key ideas that are encapsulated within this within this very first workshop, and it sort of set the tone for the following workshops and the revealing of information and of the layers of knowledge about the plasma and so on that we were to unfold. So I'll just carry on here. This is a hard concept to get your heads around, but I've run across this. I understand what you mean, but it's a big one.
It is exactly like a gas.
Yeah.
But the behavior of plasma is exactly like a gas. It fills its container. You understand?
Yes, definitely.
So when you reduce, when you take so many atoms out of your cylinder, you allow the very few plasmas which are outside the tube to open up. And in opening up, you allow the energy transfer across. In fact, I usually explain this kind of things is like you have a solar system inside, and you create another vacuum solar system outside, and the solar systems interact with each other. And that's even how we see the color of the Earth or the color of the solar systems. It does not come so much of the production of the material. This is coming up in the book number 4. I've explained it in a very detail. Even what they say, what you see there as a blue color, it's a wrong conception that we say the sky is blue because of the color of the water, or the water is because of the color of the sky. The color.
Okay, I'll end the video at that point, I think. I believe Mr. Keshe is back now. Hello, Mr. Keshe, are you available there?
Hello, yes.
Hi.
Good evening. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever and whenever you listen to these teachings. As is usually the case, whenever you think it's important thing to do, something goes wrong. And the minute you put the YouTube on, I got kicked out as usual. There is something connection in your system. In any way, thank you very much for being there for some 208 sessions. And we end up with 4 years and we start the 5th year. And hopefully in another 200 sessions, we are still here learning and teaching each other. Thank you very much for Rick, Vince, and the rest of the Keshe Foundation team in the background who have made this to become possible. People should realize these simple sessions you listen to, it takes a lot of effort to set up. There are a number of people in the background have been for years, which make it possible. Some of the videos you've seen is historical in what we have achieved and what is there to be achieved. I think what we've done in 208 sessions of teaching is very much the beginning. Is very much the beginning. As we will see the new evolution in the whole cycle of the science of knowledge. As we go further in understanding, now passing some thousands of years of matter state technology into understanding of the plasma and working of the universe. If, as I was explaining recently, if the Keshe Foundation knowledge seekers realize what has happened in past 4 years, what has happened in past 10 years, we are rewriting the beginning of a new cycle for human race. We are rewriting in a correct way, I hope, the start of a new cycle where we all trust each other. We live amongst each other with the support of each other. And this is not a dream anymore. In the coming time, in the coming weeks, and especially months, the Keshe Foundation supporters worldwide will receive a massive development. As we said before, we keep very quiet. We do not release any more information. But in so many ways, it seems to be the right time. The people of different line of thinking are all coming to one understanding. It's time for change. It's time to change for a new start. And it's time for being there together, writing the history of man in one go together, and in so many ways changing the destiny of the mankind. A lot of people have not realized what this technology is going to do. And in a coming time, in a very short time, in what we see in development, in what we see in what we as Keshe Foundation, not just me, but all of us stood, promoted peace, knowledge, sharing freely, has broken all the barriers. It has broken all the barriers of
Hello, Mr. Keshe. I think we temporarily lost the connection with Mr. Keshe there. As Marker mentions at the phrase, broken all the barriers, we lost the connection. Okay, well, bear with us for a minute while we get reconnected. Okay, well, I could play some of the older videos here. Well, perhaps maybe we can see if anyone has any questions or anything they'd like to comment on in commemoration of the 4 years of the Knowledge Seekers Workshop, perhaps.
Sure, I say let's open it up and ask people what their best memory of the last 4 years is.
Yes, right. And I'd also like to remind people that we are starting to accumulate the favorite quotes that we have. Everybody has their favorite quote from Mr. Keshe, perhaps, or a series of parts of workshops that they really got some message came through loud and clear. Hello,
Sorry,
is that
I'm
you,
back
Mr.
again.
Keshe?
Yes.
Okay.
It seems to be we have the same problem last program. There's an update in the system in the laptop which is breaking through. So we
Okay.
changed to the mobile phone. There's nothing we can do with it. As I
Mhm.
said, a lot of people will remember the 2008 208 teaching. And we will see what is to come up and what is the change to be. But at the end of the day, there is it's inevitable a technology like this that the governments, the world leaders, the organizations start taking notice, and they see the change. They see what the change can bring, and they see how strong we can change everything in such a simple way. We have worked together. If you put the man hours we have put into this, all of us, is tremendous. Is tremendous. Is hundreds of thousands of hours has been put in. A lot of people have put a lot of effort to make sure that things happen, things takes place. The position and the system works. Everything is there to work for all of us. In so many ways, it's not, as I say always, anymore one person. It's all of us. And in the coming time, we will announce. Can you hear me?
Yes, just fine.
Yep.
Thank you very much. In the coming time, we announce a massive recruitment of the Keshe Foundation supporters around the world. In every aspect, you've been in the medical part, you've been in the producing pieces that you were trying to sell, in research, in development. Keshe Foundation gets centralized in a huge way, in a massive way. I have put a note out to our medical teams that to start recruiting and start collecting and be ready to bring the medical application of technology out into public in a very big way. And it will change us. Will reach humanity mainly through the healthcare, the food, and through what else we might see available for all of us. I'm going to switch to the other system till it falls out, and I come back in on this one, please. Can you hear me on this one now?
Yes, we hear an echo at this point, but I think you can take care of that.
We have a problem. On the other hand, we have to all understand that the change has to be correct. We have to conduct the foundation as it was. We need to be very steadfast. And with what is about to come out of the Keshe Foundation in the next few months, we don't become arrogant, but become humble by it. We will see what we promised. The World Peace Treaty has started bearing fruit with a number of world leaders. And we are negotiating. We are negotiating in a very big way in bringing the Keshe Foundation Peace Treaty and in bringing nations to support. But at the end of it, we cannot stop teaching. We cannot stop bringing the new knowledge out, supporting the people who come up with new ways of teaching, those who start coming up with new solutions through understanding of the technology and bringing their beauty into the structure of the foundation to add to the knowledge. There is something which is becoming more and more apparent, and as where I sit, where I look, as the head of the Keshe Foundation in the communication and what we see, we have broken the taboo of the patents, exclusivity, ownership. The way all of you so simply and so graciously share knowledge as what you learn, what you see, be it a new gas that it can release pain faster, or a new plasma water can grow, increase the growth, or whatever we do, has brought into position that there is a need for a change, and in so many ways the change has come. We always let you know in advance. The change what we all worked for in the 4th year of teaching, starting the 5th year, has started. You will hear more, you will see more, and as I said, stay in so many ways loyal to what you took up to be with Keshe Foundation, to be part of it, to support and change humanity. We are in that change phase, and in so many ways all of us have to be ready. We announced a massive employment structure in Accra this year. We are heading for 500 employment. The team of the Keshe Foundation are working in the background to make it possible in the next months, weeks coming. We are heading for a large employment in Italy. Mexico will come into line of the employment in the next few months. The same will be Arizona. The same goes with other countries. We keep the 11 factories we have in target to be fulfilled, and we are looking around about 500 to 1,000 people per factory. And everything for it is getting structured. The management team of the Keshe Foundation, the manufacturing management team of the Foundation have managed to bring everything together. They are flying across this planet to make sure we meet the need of the humanity and change. And in so many ways, Keshe Foundation has become recognized in its own way to deliver what it says. And in so many ways, all of us, we stood a lot of trials, we stood a lot of hardship, we stood a lot of insult and assault. And in so many ways, it has come out to be perfect for us, because those who attacked us over years, we saw him coming and going, being hope to being everything else. They become dismay and desperate with their own ways of survival. They stood fast, and in so many ways, the first generation of the Keshe Foundation in the first cycle, which is all of us will be proud to be able to achieve what for thousands of years none of our forefathers could achieve. Sharing freely, teaching freely, and not father to son, but from race to race, man to man across this planet. We have broken the taboo of borders, nationality, and race. And in so many ways, if you look at the board of the management of the Keshe Foundation, if you look at just the panel which is on today, you will see at least 30, 40, 50 nations are online. We are eager to learn, we are eager to teach. But the beauty of it is, be ready for the biggest move in the Keshe Foundation history. Because this will come to be the biggest step we ever taken. And it'll bring the foundation into one of the highest levels of its operation internationally. We are working in the background. Keshe Foundations in different nations are working in the background to make it happen. And I, in a way, congratulate all of us. Every single one of us. Be it we taught in one session of Keshe Foundation, be it we made facility for a conference to take place. Collectively, we have managed to bring in 4 years together what a lot of people, a lot of nations, a lot of organizations could not even dream of. But at the end of it, as I said, do not stop teaching. Teach correct. Teach without any thoughts that if I teach, I might fall behind. Teach on the basis that I teach more. In the process of teaching, I learn myself, so I elevate myself in the teaching of the others, that they can elevate themselves in the same direction. Our aim is one thing, and that's peace. And in a coming time, we'll achieve it through the spread of the knowledge. Not what I call way. It's become that we are a nation together. And all that tax
Mr. Keshe, can you hear me?
Definitely having some issues there. I'll have to reconnect, I guess.
I'll come back on the mobile, so it'll just take a moment.
Okay, thank you.
somehow, whenever there's a change on the video, we get kicked out. So we have to watch that one, please. It somehow creates a flaw in the system.
They will put up a JPEG instead of the video, perhaps, and maybe that'll help with it.
It's just if you can leave it, I think this is what it does. Somehow in this program, the loader is creating this mayhem. In any case, we have to go ahead and move on and carry on with teaching. Please teach with joy of heart, and please teach the correct way. And don't become arrogant in what you're teaching. In part of the teaching yesterday, to me yesterday, last Thursday, the last time we were teaching, is the process of going back to the plants, going to understand the process of CO2, going to understand how the oxygen is produced. This is important because the way the foundation is moving towards the space development, the way the work of the foundation is moving towards those who would like to travel within the structure, that they feel that they have not reached the maturity of the soul to be able to do it on their own, we need to take that phase. We need to be able to teach. At the same time, it's important to understand that the soul of the man becomes the controller of these systems. This is part of what we have to learn. This is part of what we need to learn. We need to understand that uh, even though we speak about the horizontal people, we speak about the vertical people, we speak about those who float in the seas and the oceans of the seas on this planet and in the oceans of the universe. They all operate through the same process. They all have a soul. And the structure of the soul is being pre-recorded in what we call the RNA of the man, which in its play, it creates the physicality, vibration of the physicality of the man. That's how simple it is. This is what we have to understand. Then we have to understand how we want to use this structure of the soul, that in the manifestation of itself, as we call the RNA, in the what is the noise of, it needs a disc to play, which is the physicality of the man. And then if you understand this, as we all know, when you play the music, the plants show a reaction, the fish show a reaction, the animals show a reaction to the music you play. We have to learn to play the music of the soul of the universe. Those of us who elevate through serving to that position, to be able to receive more, to serve, when you reach this point, you'll say one thing: how easy this has been and how much we made mistake to get to here, and there was no need for it. But in any way, it has brought us wisdom. It has brought us the wisdom of understanding the conversion. It has brought us the wisdom of understanding how our soul can dictate the condition of our physicality, and then how the physicality can dictate the condition of the soul of the man or any other being. We now understand, going back 4 years of teaching, and if you go back in all the recordings from the first day, I said, when you start the system, pray for it, give it from your soul.
Okay, it looks like we have another. Looks like we have another brief interlude here, ladies and gentlemen. And
Yeah,
other
I'm back again. It's the system failure fault. We don't understand why. In so many ways, we become part of the whole process. We need to become part of the process. We need to become part of our understanding that the whole structure is set to be, to give, to elevate, to develop, and to promote the soul of other entities. And then we understand our physicality is irrelevant. And we understand it's us who decides the shape, the color, and everything else to go with the physicality. In so many ways, in the teaching of past few months, I have tried, as I said, to bring the direction of the soul into the part of the teaching of the physicality of the past 3 years. And in this process, we are becoming more and more aware that our wish is our command. It's us who dictates the condition. It's us who brings about the totality. It's us who, in reality, can dictate the whole process. In so many ways, if we look at our work in past few years, we all have educated each other to the point that it's not a voice anymore. We have educated each other to development of the soul. Many of those who came around the foundation to take something from it physically, we don't see around anymore. Because the intention of the soul was not there to serve, or up to that point they could. After that, the soul was not prepared to participate because it's not there to do. And a lot of us will go through the same phase. But the beauty of it is, once we teach this across this planet, we'll see the beginning of the peace. The beginning of the peace for us is peace within the soul of the man, that is happy with the physicality of it, which is controlling it, with the physicality which is in charge of. And with that process, we go to the next step. And a lot of Keshe Foundation supporters look at the Keshe Foundation as a patch, as a power supply, as a pen, as something to grow. But in reality, it was all a patch for the physical soul of the man. There was an energy to elevate the physicality of the man to the level of the soul of the man. It was there as a pain pen to write the pen of elevation of the soul of the man from its physical position. And we always looked at physical gain, but in fact it's part of the development of the soul of the man. We all understand what this means in the coming time. Because we are so physical, we just only look at a pen, it just releases my pen. My pain is gone. I use the pen. But it's dynamic, it carries a soul, it adds to your soul. The patch is the same. If a few ganses, cores, create a condition of the soul, what do you think billions, billions of ganses in the patchwork work? Then we start looking at the whole creation in a different way.
Are you still there, Mr. Keshe?
Is to elevate the soul of the man. That with it, our soul elevates the soul of the others. And this is what we have to watch. This is what is the main objective of this teaching. What I would like to do, if those of you who are and understand the process, is to extend the knowledge about the soul of the man. Because in past few weeks we joined the soul and the physicality, we start understanding it. But now we have to go into understand more about our own soul. That we understand the commands, we understand how to understand the intention of the soul, that we can change it in the physical dimension of the man. This needs not much understanding, but it needs a lot of comprehension. It needs to go deep enough in the structure of the body of the man to understand. You can start with the smallest cell in the body of the man, but you can feel, you can touch, and then through it, try to reach the soul of the man. Then you will understand how every single one of us can reach not only our soul, but the soul of the others. Collectively, we have that power. Collectively, we can do this. Collectively, we understand that this is part of the facets and assets of being a human race. Part of this human race. Can you hear me, Rick?
Yes, loud and clear right now, Mr. Keshe. Thank you.
Thank you very
We
much.
had
We stay on this channel that we don't keep on falling out. The whole process is to understand how our soul is created, how the soul is structured. The same way as our body has a structure, so does the soul of the man, so does the soul of any entity in the universe. The soul needs to absorb, to receive. The soul needs to give. The soul has a part of processing to understand what it needs to give and what it needs to receive. To what extent can it give and to what extent can it receive? The soul has to understand what it likes, what dislikes, and then in what environment would like to manifest itself, in what environment would like to operate, and which attributes of it can show. When the man evolves to understand more about the function of the soul to be parallel in the shape of the physicality of the man, you understand souls observe what pain is, souls comprehend what joy is, souls comprehend what it means to need, what it needs to satisfy a need. And it's for us to understand the structure of the soul of the man has parallel manifestation as the physicality of the man. The soul falling in love, the same as does the man, because he said, I made man in the image of myself. It's not the I, but its essence, the emotions, the feeling. Because as we know, all the souls are the same. All the souls radiate the same way and in the same manner. It is what the soul do and does which brings the change. It brings the beauty, it brings the essence. And then for us to understand this, that we can convert it in a dimension of physicality, we understand physicality has no meaning. If the man starts understanding that the emotion within the soul of the man is followed through the emotion, through the physicality of the man, then we understand we always knew our soul. It's just we connected it to physicality. I made man in the image of myself. Doesn't mean I have an eye. It means I know what the joy is when I give. It means I know what it means when I take. I have to move my position. The whole essence of physicality has no meaning in the replication of the soul of the man, as I made man in the image of myself. It's what goes back in the teaching of past 4 years. We always said the emotional part of the physicality, because now we understand the emotional part of physicality leads to the creation of physicality. Many of us think that we are born with a skin or an eye or a nose or hair or whatever was happened to happen in the womb of the mother. But all that is pre-assessed, preset by the physicality manifestation of the man from the essence of the emotion of the soul of the man. So it means the soul has created what we would like to call nowadays RNA and DNA, and it's handed it over. This is from here to this point you receive, now you should look Indian. From here to there you should look Chinese. From here to here. And then from now on, I'll let you to do, see what you can bring in. How you can, what I've given you to bring that I can elevate myself to another dimension. Why some of us turn up to be in different color eyes, and collectively the whole part of that environment have the same color of eye or the same color of hair or whatever. All these are dictated by the matter state of the fields of the planet. So it has nothing to do with the soul of the man. It's very much the paint and the pen is provided. You draw what you like. But that's the limitation. It has to be all in brown or blue or black. So the color of the eye of our soul is not blue. The soul has no eye. The color of the ear is not pink or yellow, and soul does not have a hair which could be brown and blue, and then we become prejudiced about the colors of it, of the skin, the hair, or the eye. Then we see each other as one soul. And then, if we understand this, we understand there is no intelligence. There is no need for intelligence, as the soul, through collection of its manifestation operation, knows it all, have it all, and dispense with what is needed on the arrangement of the pre-recording of what these people need in the physical dimension to be able to live. We are on the verge of development of technologies which will come in the forefront in the coming months and years, that we can even decide the shape, the color, the whole structure of our offsprings. If the soul we have allowed them to create accept it. You cannot clone a soul, but you can clone the DNA of the physicality of the soul, because it's irrelevant. Each soul is unique, and in that process we have to learn how much we can add to this knowledge, how much we can use this knowledge. What will be interesting, what we will see from these developments of the research, which is coming up through Keshe Foundation, different sections, and by mainly many of the followers of the Keshe Foundation, is that very soon we will be able to create physical shapes through the plasma technology. Because we will be able to create the soul of the accumulation of the cells, or the soul of the cells, within the structure of the whole system. That by putting reactors, by putting plasma systems in operation, we can lead to the creation of life, or we can lead to the creation of the soul of the life. And then we can take this to anywhere in the universe. Many of us as a human race will take this chance when we'll go through it, because it's the only way to be able to carry masses across this universe. Many of us will depart from the physicality and will allow our souls to be trusted with the others, that in time and in a place where it's of our choosing to manifest ourselves in part of the system which we chose. Many of us will be able to understand the whole process in a very unique way. This is not a telling of the future. This is in the reach of the man even today. If you know and you manage to handle all these reactors, all these cores, all these ganses, all these coils, everything which you could imagine you have developed. You have not managed to reach this point because every move was to meet confirmation of the physicality. Did it change? Did I make nano coating? Did I do this? Has it happened? Did it help you? Did it cure you? Did it fly? This process has come to an end. We start moving on. The whole understanding is, can we replicate through the physical systems with the ganses we have made? to see how our soul will manifest itself in a new dimension environment. I'm going to Spain for holidays. Can I replicate the condition? And when I did, am I going to take a boots, snow jacket, and skis? Or I'm going to the North Pole and go with a bikini and a sun umbrella? Or can I control my soul that it manifests itself what is needed to be in the North Pole and what is needed to be on the equator? You will see many of the Keshe Foundation supporters will start creating machines in this level in the coming time. Now that we have taken and the finances and the support of the nation comes in, the development of the technology which will reach new heights in 2018, 2019. Many of your dreams will become reality. The present line of communication computers in the next 5 years will become obsolete. Many of you bought many brand new computers, but watch what is on the horizon to come. Because now the line of communication is through the soul of the man, understanding the emotion of the man. Do you need a telephone, or do you need the messengers who go run a marathon and many of them to go from one city to another? The message on the paper is still the same. It's the method of carrying it and reaching it and delivering it has now moved from what we call the present, let's say, fiberglass and optical lines into the direction of the soul of the man. Many of you will move in this phase because it's beautiful, it's the way it is, and it's the way we're all created. We know the way, we understand the way, and in so many ways, in the 208 teaching, I promise you one thing. We will have many offsprings of the soul of the man, that the soul decides in what shape and color it would like to manifest itself. Not just because the mother and father are Chinese and in Africa, it has to be Chinese looking and it be outcast. That he's a Chinese and we are black, or vice versa. Where in Africa he'll be black, in China he'll be Chinese. Because the soul decides what it is and what is satisfied with, and when it decides to create direction of the emotion to manifest itself in physicality. Those of you who are testing dynamic reactors will see this. If you develop it in the right way, with the right composition of understanding life, you will start seeing structures. How you load it, you look for the structure, but you see the soul first. And then what is your emotion will give the soul the physicality to manifest itself. Many of us in the teaching, in the coming time, will start teaching the elevation of the soul, not making ganses and nano-coating. The soul of the man has to be reached through his physicality, but the physicality has to give the soul the comfort of peace and what it needs to operate in. One of the things which we'll teach in the coming months is going back to the teaching of the universal language. Going back to understanding the language of the soul. What does it mean? Because the pen of the soul has no color, but cuts deep in other souls as they receive it, that they use it and in so many ways change themselves to the level they like to do. The other thing which we learn in the coming time is the method of transportation when you arrive in a a physical dimension. the line of communication, that what we call, you would like to call zero time communication, what we call plasma communication system, will revolutionize the present, what they call mobile phones. Production of food, in essence, through energy packages, energy stations, will be marketed in the coming time by the Keshe Foundation, where you're literally, as you go to a car wash, or as you go through an X-ray machine, or you go to an MRI, you feed the man. We are working in that direction, especially for disaster zones. These will be part of the systems which in the coming time will be put into operation by the Keshe Foundation, where you can walk through and you receive all the energy you need, and you give what you do not need. These are all in the original patterns of the Keshe Foundation. Now that we have educated enough, we see it's time to deliver. It's time to bring all the patterns into operation. Many of the characters, many of the sections of the, what we call the patterns, be it the medical, be it the original pattern, it's time for it to come into operation. Please go through all the patterns, some 300 and odd points of it. Go through the medical pattern. Go through nano coating, nano-technology pattern. Go through the papers and start developing. Develop all aspects of it, because all of you have enough knowledge. Read the patterns now through the eye of plasma, not through the eye of matter technology. And you will understand it has a new meaning. Start developing the way what you like to see change in the physical condition of the man, or change it from physicality into the soul of the man. Can I create a station that the other souls can come and elevate themselves? It's exactly the same as having a station where people come and feed themselves from the plasma, or where the entities, be it us or the others, come to find peace and refuge. Reread and open all the patterns again. Open them, evaluate them, and now do them in the language of plasma. And you find a lot of secrets of the man will open up. It's written that way. Because those who are interested in the physical condition of the patterns will receive the physical condition. If you decide to look at it through the soul of the man or soul of the entity, you will create new conditions that it gives you elevation of the soul of the man. There is nowhere in any of the patterns that is the teaching of destruction. Even in those which you see destruction is the essence of the creation. It's very much it's like a phoenix. The time has come for a lot of Keshe Foundation supporters to start teaching and replicating the whole structure of the matter state of the patterns into plasma and free plasma condition, where there is no physicality. I was explaining very recently to part of the Keshe Foundation research group that the way they are going, if they understand with what has been developed, even your star formations, reaching the point of the elevation of the soul of itself you will find out that the plastic cores or brass cores or the copper cores will totally dissolve, because you pass the strength of the copper, but you still see plasma like a sun will have no container. We don't see a motor on the end of the sun sitting on it, and we don't see it contained in a brass or a copper container. With the new development of PPUs and PPGs, power plasma units and power plasma generators, which are now developed and is in your hand, if you understood the essence of the development, you can all produce systems which can give you what you like to call star formation without containment, which means start looking how you feed plasma to the reactors, then the flow of the current of electrons, electronics. Everyone can do it. The research centers are elevated to that level, and they start working at that level. And now every one of you can do. As I said, when we manage to create the plasma condition, which is part of the structure above the copper, copper doesn't exist, but the plasma still does. You will find many of you who will reach to the point that what you built as a core and what you built as sitting on as a motor will have no meaning if you start using the plasma current than electrical current. What is a plasma current? A plasma current is field forces that it knows it has to go somewhere to deliver, and it knows it has to come back to give more, because when it delivered, it received more. The non-containing or contained plasma reactors will be upcoming teachings. It will be upcoming technologies where when you want to travel the depth of the universe, there is nothing which can contain the plasma except the field forces within the plasma, that having the balance of it can be controlled through the soul of the man, as is made of the same. We don't see any of the stars in the universe having containment, but in the evolution and the cycle of life of them, they create conditions that allows them to exist. In a coming time, all these non-dimensional plasma systems will come to be the level of understanding of very much like a neutron or proton. Depending on the condition of the field, the strength of the environment, the plasma will shine and create itself and manifest itself according to the plasmatic field force of the environment. It has manifested itself. Then it comes to a new point. Would you like to look for a grain, or would you like to receive from the sun without the grain, because the harvest can fail? The sun, which is the elevation of the fields of the universe, never dies. One sun might do, but the other suns are still there because we are part of the setup to be for the whole totality to exist. So what we're looking, and you will see in the upcoming time, plasma reactors without containment. Plasma system flying what you call a star formation, where it's controlled through the soul of the man, through the emotion of the man. Then you understand you have to protect the physicality. And it goes back to the teaching of past few weeks, where you allow the physicality of the man to enter the soul of the man, that the soul of the man can protect it. And as the soul of the man is very much the same as a star, it can interact. You can enter the physical structure of the plasma of the sun, and then in that level decide if you like to live within the center of the sun, because now you're part of the totality of the physical structure.
This is the only time when the cat comes out of the bag, you can put it back in the bag. Where the soul allowed the physicality to be developed, now you can create a condition through the soul of the physicality to go back within the soul of the man, that can manifest yourself in a dimension when you decide the physicality to manifest itself. The whole of the Keshe Foundation in the coming months should be able to move in that direction. Remember, I've said even in the last few teachings, the elevation of the knowledge of the man, where we evolved heavily and very strongly in the science and in work, in architecture and everything else, or medicine, was when there was equality and peace. Because now there was no war. There were those who wanted to do more, and they elevated the work of the creation. Mankind is coming into that phase of peace. In the coming weeks, you will hear announcements worldwide by world leaders. Don't forget, I promise is my wish, and my wish is my command. And in that process, when the men of military have no room except become men of peace, then there will be huge resources available to all of us, all the world scientists. The race will be who knows more to give more to elevate. This is not a dream anymore. Sit in my seat and you shall see. It's us who has to be prepared for it. Development of plasma technologies which will change the condition of a certain section of the planet in the time of physical, what we call rapid changes, be it hurricane, be it earthquakes, as we can predict it, as we can do it, we can protect it, that okay, it just was there and it's happened and it's gone. But I don't need to be homeless. I don't need to go hungry, and I don't need to lose my harvest, because I still want to be human and be on this planet. The illusion of the what we call the real peace dividend of the new cycle of the technology, it will touch all of us. But it'll be in such a rapid way that many of us cannot even imagine. World peace is at my grasp, and I'll deliver it. But you got to understand, when we deliver the world peace, those of you who are part of the Keshe Foundation, those of you who teach, have to be able to be mature enough to teach the right way, that every man chooses through his soul, not by the bank account and not by palaces. In a coming time, we'll see the changes in the whole space travel. Many of us will learn. As I said, these are all part of the peace dividend, which is all of us participated in it. But the beauty of it is, the Earth Council has written the statement for humanity. The Universal Council, still in riddle, cannot find its way even to write its own mandate, because they haven't even found, most of them, their own soul. And many of the members of the Universal Council do not understand the operation of their soul. Many of them we have seen come, and some are still in the structure, still run on the same process. This is the problem. This is what we have to understand, that the peace dividend this time around will touch all of us. The peace dividend will change the course of humanity in a coming time. in a very rapid way, in a huge way, in a constructive way. And we have to be ready for it. Because when our government, when the organizations, when the structures which we have helped to support, be it the computer companies, be it the military guys, armies, government structures, all will move in one direction, because man will find a new course, a new way. And this new way will have a fantastic dividend for our children. When they talk about war, they say, what is war? Why our parents were so stupid to do such a thing? What did they see in it? What was in it? It's very much like us. We travel in the jet planes or in a car. And if you think of it, the oil was there 1,000 years ago. The steel was there. The copper was there. And none of us stood still say, why didn't our parents and our forefathers didn't think to do it, that they had to go with the donkey? The only difference is man has brought his intelligence into it to utilize and manipulate to the benefit of himself. Now, the same thing will happen, but this time with the energies of the universe, which is the essence of the creation of the matter state. That's where the change will come. This is where the difference will come. We will see in a very short time unification of the armed forces of this planet. But this time, not to fight, because there is no fight. Then they start looking after every household, every man, every child in a correct way. Because it becomes very much like the Roman time, where mothers gave birth to children to become part of the Roman army, and there was a pride in serving a nation. Now we'll be proud serving the soul of a nation, which is one nation, human race as one planet. These are not dreams anymore. Where I sit, what I see, and the changes which are coming through, it's my job to tell you, be ready. Be ready for huge changes, because in the next few months, in the next couple of years, when the motion we have started, because we wished for peace, and all of us who did was from soul, not from the physical level. And that soul has elevated the soul of the others to reach, and it goes like a wildfire. But then it comes the operation of Universal Council. Have they, are they ready, or made themselves ready to be able to go through the interface till we come, we open the doors of human race into the human race as one soul in the universe. Many of what you wish for by 2020, 2022 will come true, because it's a peace dividend. This time the peace dividend is for the soul of the man, not for the physicality of the man. And we will see huge evolution in science, huge evolution in upcoming knowledge. We have no choice, because we've done our work. Now, what I call a new generation of innovators in a new science will bring everything out so rapidly. One of the things which we will see is how to understand the power of the soul of the man in respect to the soul of the universe. How strong are we as a soul of human race, as a soul of the planet, as a soul of this solar system, to stand the forces of the universe, that we can elevate the soul of the others. These are not dreams. These are the realities which those of you who made the patches, those of you who made the pens, those of you who made the dynamic systems will start to observe. Because there is one point I was explaining recently to someone. As I said it before, when you make a patch, it's not just your physical pain which is healed, it's the soul of the cell which is healed. With the elevation of the soul of the cell which is received the energy, will elevate the soul of it. We'll find new ways to elevate the soul. And that game is fantastic because we all become millionaires in the bank account of the soul, where there is no harm. There is no harm done because we only take what we need and how much we want to elevate the soul to serve. When we get that point, we'll come to a real facts one point. What these machines we call star formation, with no physical containment, where we said they create a non-contained field force in the center, then that we can use to reach the station of the soul of the man, where we see to charge, to feed, to receive, these systems are used. It's very much like the system we see with Dr. Rodriguez. And we go in it and they come out of it. But this time, once we elevate the knowledge and the world understands it, would we go into these machines to elevate our souls to come up charged that we can go and serve more? Would we use this new technology to create a servant of souls that we just want to serve and we go and charge up because we have done what we could in the soul level? We need to charge up that we can go. These are not dreams anymore. Many of you who have used the health section, even the maggraph section of the technology, have already elevated your own soul, because partially you have received the physical part of elevation, but with it you have received the soul of the elevation too. Sit down and write, or get the video of yourself, how you behaved maybe 5 years ago and how you behave today. And try to understand. That was me. Don't look at your physical structure in the movie, but go back to see how the soul felt when the movie was taken. And then look where you are in the elevation of your own soul. Has the selfishness gone? Has serving become more important? Has being part of the change that you gave from the soul to create that change has changed? Then you become the true man of this planet. And it goes back to the what I call the logo of the Keshe Foundation. We are here to serve and not to be served, but the service in the hands of the Keshe Foundation is to serve the soul of the man, not the physicality of the man. This is where the change will come. Some of you might think I'm sentimental, but wait to see what I know. Then you understand there is no sentiment into it, but the fact, truth, that the time for change has come. We still build the factories. We still will build to keep people busy, everything else. I wonder if we ever get paid for our products, or people just come and take and say thank you. And the people queue up to work for the other people to come to elevate their souls. We will have problem holding the staff. Because if a cajole, you stay sick, I want to go and work for you today because I want to elevate myself, but what I help others with. We will see. But remember one point. The next step is to open the patterns again. go through all the steps, go to the back end of the patterns and come forward, because now you know enough, you don't need the front. Look at the last digits, sections of the patterns, and come forward, because you have already graduated, many of you. You don't need to be in class 1. You can go back for reference to the first class, read the first section, second section pattern. The patterns are written that way. Read the books back to front, and then you see it's exactly like a plasma system. You all read the magnetical side. Start from the back chapters and come to the front, read the gravitational side. And then you see the technology has totally different meaning than when you read it the first time. My books are free on the internet. Many of you have downloaded it. I bless your soul that you receive elevation by it. But remember one thing. Use it not to argue that you know more. Use it to argue that you know less, that you need to know more. Then we succeed. Today, we were planning to have what we call the Earth Council statement, which has been translated into many languages, in both in Farsi and in Italian, where we were born and where we are resident. And in that position, as we are the residents of Italy, today the Italian group have translated their, what we call their statement of the Earth Council. And Giuseppe from Keshe Foundation will read it. Try to listen to it, and now that you know the changes are about to come, how you feel, even is in just the sound, which you do not know. Grasp the essence of it. And then we'll see where we go and how much we can elevate ourselves. Giuseppe, are you there?
Yes, hello.
Hello, would you like to read us the Italian translation?
Sure.
Of the
Yes, yes, I would.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
And can you share it on your sharing so we can see the version? Is that possible?
Wait 1 second, I'm not. Do you want? Okay. Do you see it?
Yes, we see it now. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Okay, can I go on?
Yes, please.
Ok. Noi, anime di tutti gli esseri collegati al pianeta Terra, con la presente creiamo la Costituzione del pianeta Terra. One nation, one planet, one race. Costituzione. Il Consiglio della Terra è stato creato per garantire che, dando uguali diritti a tutti gli esseri, non ci sarà mai un conflitto o guerra su questo pianeta e oltre, da parte di nessuno e tra tutti gli esseri e i cittadini del creato. La fine della guerra e l'instaurazione della pace saranno raggiunti attraverso la comprensione del potenziale di tutti gli esseri del creato. Il percorso per la pace deve essere quello di portare la comprensione che la soluzione vengano raggiunti attraverso il dialogo e l'elevazione dell'anima dell'avversario, piuttosto che attraverso il degrado o svilimento dell'anima o dell'esistenza fisica. La pace deve essere l'obiettivo di ogni movimento, dell'esistenza di ogni essere su questo pianeta. Il Consiglio sarà il portabandiere di questa mozione per creare un ambiente dove la pace possa essere raggiunta sulla Terra. La pace deve essere la pietra angolare dell'esistenza tra coloro che provengono da questo pianeta e o scelgono di vivere su questo pianeta, così come per quelli che provengono dalla Terra e scelgono di vivere nello spazio. La Terra deve diventare la culla della pace per l'evoluzione di tutte le razze. Noi, il Consiglio della Terra, riconosciamo che la Terra fa parte del sistema solare, della galassia, dell'universo e di tutti gli unicos. In quanto tale, il pianeta Terra deve diventare una parte del ciclo della creazione, sostenendo il pianeta e tutti gli esseri che vivono su di lei per elevarsi oltre l'attuale ciclo di evoluzione verso un'esistenza più appagante e pacifica. Riconosciamo la Madre Terra come un'entità vivente che ha la sua anima. Da ogni atomo a piante, animali, umani, insetti, microbi e altro, e tutti quelli ancora da scoprire, sono anime che condividono l'essenza del Creatore, così come i campi del pianeta Terra. Insieme ci uniamo per creare l'anima collettiva del pianeta. Riconosciamo che tutti gli altri esseri su questo pianeta devono essere sostenuti, nutriti e autorizzati a prosperare in pace, inclusi animali, piante, ecosistemi e altri esseri invisibili, così come la stessa Madre Terra. Tutto sarà sostenuto per crescere e prosperare, poiché questo a sua volta migliorerà le vite, non solo su questo pianeta, ma sul tutto, poiché riconosciamo di essere parte del tutto. La cooperazione reciproca, la collaborazione, la condivisione e il contributo al benessere di tutti dovrebbero essere l'impegno principale del Consiglio terrestre. Il nostro obiettivo è sostenere il pianeta nel suo complesso e ogni essere che vive qui. Serviremo per creare un ambiente di nutrimento e armonia in cui tutti gli esseri possono crescere e prosperare nel loro modo unico. 6 membri del Consiglio terrestre. Ogni continente della Terra è rappresentato da un membro, quelli che sono Africa, Asia, Australia, Europa, Nord America e Sud America. Ogni membro rappresenta i bisogni e i desideri del popolo che vive nel loro continente, così come la totalità degli esseri che vi risiedono. Processi di selezione. I membri devono aver vissuto in almeno 2 continenti e parlare almeno 2 lingue. Ciò consente una più ampia prospettiva di comprensione quando si tratta di prendere in considerazione i bisogni di tutta l'umanità. Chiarezza delle anime. I 6 membri del Consiglio della Terra sono qui per servire della comprensione delle loro anime attraverso la manifestazione della fisicità. Mandato del Consiglio terrestre: sostenere e servire, fornire e proteggere. Porta alle nostre anime la comprensione che il potere dentro di noi per governare se stessi, in interazione con altre anime e creare una convivenza pacifica. La nostra intenzione è di far emergere il meglio e del meglio ogni anima vivente su questo pianeta blu che chiamiamo Terra. Dare alla nostra anima la manifestazione nella fisicità, la libertà di vivere in pace, amore e fiducia su questo pianeta e nello spazio. I nostri desideri sono per tutti gli esseri viventi nella creazione di dimorare in pace, armonia e tranquillità. È tempo di accedere a condividere le disuguaglianze di risorse in modo equo e giusto tra tutti gli esseri. Il Consiglio della Terra servirà e sosterrà per fornire tutti gli esseri delle seguenti libertà: libertà di associazione, libertà di espressione, libertà di movimento, libertà della fame, libertà della mancanza di risorse, libertà di esplorare il sentiero per comprendere la nostra anima, libertà di imparare, libertà di contribuire alla società secondo i nostri talenti e ciò che troviamo soddisfacente, libertà di scegliere attraverso la nostra anima come e quando desideriamo manifestarci nella fisicità o no, la libertà di essere proprietà di un altro, la libertà di ogni soppressione di tecnologie e informazioni nuove e innovative per applicazioni pacifiche, libertà di condivisione, libertà di pensiero, libertà di amare e dare, libertà di scelta, libertà di linguaggio, libertà da un sistema monetario, libertà dalla punizione, nessuna prigionia o esecuzione, libertà del conflitto e della guerra, libertà della paura degli altri che ci negano questa libertà. Non ci devono essere confini nazionali o regionali, nessuna distinzione tra loro, tra colori, razze e percorsi di credenza, nessuna distorsione culturale o barriere monetarie che si dividono l'una dall'altra o danno un vantaggio ingiusto a una sull'altra. Non ci saranno titoli ereditari o ruoli di leadership ereditari che comprendono la regalità, dittatura familiare o diritti di qualsiasi titolo. Non ci sarà paura di punizioni per alcun crimine. L'elevazione dell'anima di coloro che fanno torto permetterà l'abolizione di tutte le forme di reclusione e pena capitale. Attraverso l'educazione e la condivisione della conoscenza a livello dell'anima, tutti gli esseri si elevano. La punizione non ha spazio per il livello dell'anima nella comprensione della propria forza di campo. Non c'è bisogno di un sistema monetario che scambia beni e servizi per il lavoro. Creeremo un ambiente in cui il denaro non ha spazio nella società, quando tutti i bisogni fisici di tutti gli esseri sono soddisfatti. Si farà il lavoro per portare piacere agli altri e a noi stessi. La fine del sistema monetario porterà l'era di esseri umani sani e il vero amore tra tutti su questo pianeta. Lavorare dovrebbe essere per la gioia, la pura gioia di esso o per il piacere di servire gli altri e elevare l'anima degli altri così come noi stessi. Tutti coloro che desiderano servire come decisioni e guide possono offrire di servire con la comprensione della loro anima e ottenere il consenso degli altri affinché possano adempiere al ruolo richiesto. L'elevazione della comprensione ci permetterà di riconoscere le forze di campo uniche di un'anima che permetterà loro di servire a beneficio degli altri e di elevare tutta l'umanità. Queste persone serviranno per illuminare e ispirare l'elevazione negli altri. La leadership viene dall'anima dell'uomo e con l'accordo degli altri per servire. Rispettiamo tutte le forme e le forme di tutte le entità su questo pianeta Terra e oltre. A tutti gli esseri del pianeta saranno concesse le stesse libertà, quelli di essere liberi, di vivere in pace con tutti gli altri in un ambiente di mutua dignità e rispetto. Tutti avranno la libertà di scelta di vivere nel modo in cui desiderano, a patto che il rispetto sia reciproco. Tutti gli esseri del pianeta dovrebbero essere supportati per consentire loro di vivere senza scarsità. L'accesso di base ad un tetto, acqua, cibo, sicurezza, materiali e libertà di utilizzo del campo energetico, terra o risorse universali, dovrebbe essere una priorità, così come pace e stabilità per consentire il benessere emotivo e la ricerca dell'illuminazione. Tutte le diversità è riconosciuta come espressioni uniche e diverse del Creatore e sarà abbracciata e celebrata come portatrice di ricchezza per le vostre vite. Ogni essere dovrebbe essere supportato e incoraggiato ad acquisire conoscenza. L'umanità in particolare ha bisogno della libertà di esplorare e comprendere questa conoscenza, che può essere acquisita senza la necessità di lavorare costantemente per sopravvivere. Creare gli strumenti per diventare indipendenti, gli esseri umani responsabili di sé, devono essere una priorità. L'anima degli esseri detterà e governerà in uno stile di vita responsabile, giusto, corretto, a beneficio di tutta la creazione in egual misura. Per la prima volta nella storia dell'uomo, con il libero arbitrio dal livello dell'anima, l'apprendimento comincerà a conoscere l'anima sin dall'infanzia. Quando si verificano disastri naturali, dobbiamo venire in aiuto a tutti gli esseri della zona, senza mostrare alcun favore e sostenere tutti. Ciò include la comprensione dell'ecosistema del pianeta e di ciò di cui hanno bisogno tutti gli esseri nel loro ciclo di vita. Tutti gli esseri avranno accesso e condivideranno risorse in tempo di abbondanza e tempo di disastro. Quando sorge un conflitto, dobbiamo negoziare per un risultato pacifico per tutte le parti. A tutta l'umanità deve essere data una pace duratura. Questo è possibile solo quando tutte le parti hanno bisogno di essere prese in considerazione. Tutti gli esseri meritano protezione dal danno alla loro fisicità ed emozione. Processo decisioni. Nessuna maggioranza infrangerà le libertà di qualsiasi minoranza. Il consenso sarà raggiunto attraverso il dialogo e l'elevazione dell'anima dell'uomo. Ogni decisione deve essere di beneficio per tutti. Ogni essere sarà rispettato, trattato in modo equo e uguale in tutti gli aspetti. Le anime degli esseri governeranno ogni azione in modo pacifico. Portare la pace al pianeta e tutti coloro che vivono qui deve essere sempre il nostro obiettivo. Servire i bisogni di tutti è l'unico modo per raggiungere questo obiettivo. Invito. Vengano tutti gli esseri dal più piccolo al più grande della creazione per celebrare, gustare e abbracciare la pace, l'amore, la fiducia e la libertà. Tutti gli esseri sono qui per elevare il livello più alto dell'umanità e di tutta la coscienza, elevazione delle anime. Tutte le anime posate tutte le armi di aggressione, odi e differenza. Facciamo pace e tranquillità su questo pianeta blu che chiamiamo Terra. Tutti gli esseri viventi in armonia con tutte le creazioni su questo pianeta blu che chiamiamo Terra, così come in tutto l'universo. I principi guida della condotta fisica sono appropriati fino al momento in cui le anime degli uomini capiscono il loro funzionamento e la loro posizione all'interno dei confini dei principi universali. L'anima merita di sapere tutto su diversi livelli di creazione. Tutte le anime viventi hanno la libertà di uguaglianza per vivere in pace e prosperare qui sulla terra e oltre. Le anime di tutti gli esseri porteranno il meglio dei talenti, delle forze e della bellezza da condividere e prosperare in tutta la creazione. Riprendere il potere delle anime di governare tutti gli esseri viventi qui sulla terra. Il potere non sta mentendo su nessun leader o entità allo scopo di controllare o dominare gli altri, ma viene da dentro di noi per amare e dare pace, amore, felicità e libertà agli altri. Questa Costituzione terrena ha il migliore delle intenzioni per la pace, l'amore, la fiducia e la libertà delle anime di tutti gli esseri viventi, comprese le altre entità in tutta la creazione. Questa Costituzione è di consentire a tutti gli esseri di fare la cosa giusta con il piacere di lavorare e di servire insieme e con altre anime per vedere la bellezza della creazione. Questa Costituzione è fluida e può essere regolata in qualsiasi momento a seconda delle necessità, ad esempio, la condotta dell'uomo, a seconda delle necessità, ad esempio, la condotta dell'uomo per la coesistenza pacifica. I trattati di pace tra uomo e uomo, nessuna guerra e o qualsiasi forma di aggressione su questo pianeta blu che chiamiamo Terra e il contatto con le altre entità da diverse aree degli universi. Questa sezione è destinata a essere vuota per ulteriori modifiche in futuro, come necessario per mantenere la pace permanente su questo pianeta Terra e oltre. Scritto dalle anime dei popoli del pianeta Terra e rappresentato dai membri del Consiglio terrestre. Finish. Ok.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Giuseppe.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you for all your hard work. Are there any questions? No questions?
I'm having a look here, Mr. Keshe. Hang on a second. I was wondering if you saw the part I was showing when you were having connection problems. I was showing a excerpt out of the original public teaching workshop, the first public teaching workshop that we did.
No, I missed that. But the minute you put the YouTube on or the video on, it kicks the program out. We have this problem all the time.
Well, it's funny because you started mentioning about going back to some of the original patents and some of the original ideas and starting to replicate them and get them experiment with them and so on for people to kind of inspire them to do that. And I had been I showed the excerpt out of the first public teaching workshop, which I explained to people came before the Knowledge Seekers workshop series. This was
that's
back
when you started all this problem.
Yes, that was
All the
back in
problem for humanity you are the cause of.
sorry about that, but you know, that was my wish, and I was fed up with the way it was, and had to make some changes, you know, as you know too. Anyway, we joke, but it was 2013, in March of 2013, and that's 5 years ago, basically, when that original workshop started, which actually came from the plasma reactor group, which happened for a year or so before that. And so the excerpt that I showed was when you were talking about opening the plasma, and it was the part that I've always liked that you said, where basically it was how'd it go? There's no part of the universe that is there's no full vacuum in the universe. No full vacuum condition. I think I have it here. Just I want to get it exact. Where was it here?
Is it not full vacuum or alternate vacuum?
Somehow it's disappeared here, but there's no, basically it was about there's no full vacuum anywhere in the universe. You cannot have a full vacuum. There's always fields in that condition, and especially in that condition, because when you open up into the vacuum, then like you said, the proton itself will open up, so that the fields of even a single hydrogen atom, the proton, will expand out to perhaps a cubic meter. And since there's nowhere that they've discovered in the universe, the scientists so far, that there's not at least one hydrogen atom in every cubic meter, then all of the hydrogen atoms, you could say, are in field communication with each other. And if it turns out they're in this sort of quantum connection, then they are actually all connected. And science will come to that conclusion, Matt, maybe this year or something, and maybe they already have. And that's part of why we are coming closer to this real-time connectedness with everything. It's part of our consciousness now, or part of our perception as humans. We're able to see beyond our family and tribal connections, and into even beyond our earth connections, to our connections through the entire universe. So you're speaking of this way back then. Seems like a long time ago in a way, but you were speaking of that even before that, and so on.
It's a very strange things which happens around us when you look at the progress of the development of the foundation and the work of the teaching. There's always been elements, people, souls who knowingly or unknowingly have helped and supported us, and supported the foundation, supported the teaching. But all this is growing. We go back into 4 or 5 years of teaching. Before that, I used to do 1 or 2 years plus of what I call conference teachings, or giving lectures in different halls and different houses. And I was explaining how I was giving a talk in a conference, and this man came to me and he said, do you mind, you can see me in my house, I'm tired, I cannot come out. It's just I came here and I want to see this man in his house, and it was easy to understand his problem. And in helping him, when he was sick for years, he said, do you mind, because I'm sick this way, if I ask my couple of friends to turn up next week if you have time to come and see them. I said, no problem. I went the second week, there was about 4 or 5 of them. And then they said, do you mind to come next week? We can bring our friends. And by the 3rd or 4th week, it became the room packed. Every Friday night, those of the people who know what I'm talking about, from 7 o'clock till 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, we used to gather. They couldn't put any more chairs in. The room was full. And this went on for weeks and weeks. Every Friday night, 7 o'clock, we used to, and they became these groups, these people, and they were not all the same people. Every time changed, and every time changed. And I remember when the first book came out, and I was sitting with them, and I showed them this is the first book coming out, and that led to the establishment of, from those meetings, the establishment of NINOF, and then the teachings, the international conferences, the peace conferences, and then what it came to these public teachings. And what we see in the coming months, mass teaching on televisions are coming online. The governments in a number of nations will start mass teaching, and then that's where the breakthrough will come. In a number of places, already teaching has been on televisions. People start putting it on radios, national radios, and I think most of what you call these public teachings, 1 or 2, and then what you call knowledge seekers, will be shown and played and displayed for many, many times on national, international televisions, because these are the roots where we learn everything, and it will be analyzed and penalized and whatever. And we are at that verge. As I said, it started with one sick man in one room, and it ended up with where we are now, because evolution of that was going to the next step and next step. And now we see the first television series or channels who have released programs about the foundation. And now we see the mass opening in 2018 to 19. But as I said, keeping technology front, keeping the peace, and sharing knowledge freely has brought a lot of dividends for humanity, and we'll see the changes. It started with one interview, it became a lot, and now, as you said, before we started, we have taught in the basement of buildings, we have taught on the roof of buildings, we have taught in the snow, we have taught in what you call public conferences as part of it, where you started with one and the others joined in, and in so many days in the Valletta, on a desk, I remember in the Sansano, we used to sit around the desk and trying to get teaching. So a lot of effort has gone to share knowledge, and now we see the dividend of it, which is amazing how you listen, and the whole program is very simple. Knowledge to serve yourself, to serve your soul. It'll pick up. We'll go. We are not on the verge of, we have passed the point. It's just a matter of releasing it internationally, publicly, and then the whole humanity will benefit from it. I should thank everyone who's been around the foundation the past 4 years, as we celebrate today. It's beginning of its 5th anniversary. Any questions, or we have no one?
I was wondering, Mr. Keshe, if you've encountered others that are in scientific circles, or others that are experimenting with similar plasma technology to what you teach and what you describe. Are there independent groups working on this separate from the Keshe Foundation direct?
We see, yes, there are many, many. You got to realize at one point, when we elevate the soul, we should not expect that we'll be the only one. When we open the key, the knowledge is spread across the world. Doesn't matter, as I said, you don't need to be on the teachings to understand. There are a lot of organizations which have started, or somebody has been enlightened through the soul and they're going. But each of these organizations are going in one specific way, very narrow field of knowledge or whatever, where the Keshe Foundation, the way we work, we cover the whole spectrum. So when you're so big, you're bound to touch others who might have thought or think or have found a way to work in that environment. But when you put the Keshe Foundation, the knowledge we put, they find maybe a solution or they bring us a solution. One should not be arrogant to say, I'm the only one, I know everything. It's part of the process, but we have what we call vibrated the soul of mankind. So the knowledge will come. The knowledge is there and will come. I was explaining, as I always do, if you have a wood, you can make a fire or make a furniture with it. Or maybe you can do some other things with it. But you burn it as a fuel. When you have oil, we make, as the extra Iran said, 20,000 different products from it. But in so many ways, it would not make us the food and the fruit and the part of the medicine we need and the others. Now, with this new fuel, what we call a plasma, the way we produce it, we go to the essence of creation. So with this, we can make everything. And when you can make everything, you touch everyone. This is one of the biggest problems with the work of the foundation at the moment. And multinationals, governments do not know how to handle us. And the handling is, these guys are touching agriculture, medicine, energy, space, material, anything you can think of. You Keshe Foundation forests have put your fingers in it. And you have taught it. It's not that I know, I keep it to myself. Be it from the pillow, which has a gas if you have a headache, to be the water or the machine, you can produce this and that with the gases or technology of the gas. So it's coming to a point, there is no other choice. We have kept the knowledge so upfront, that we will touch everything somewhere. And if somebody says, no, there is no one, yes, there are. Because first of all, they've all been elevated. It's the phase of the elevation of the soul of man to change the physicality of man. And we have blown the wind of equality and peace through the knowledge and science. And all those souls who are there will come back, or they developed everything. As I said, when we teach, even the one in Amazons who have no television, no network, nothing here, his soul will be elevated too, that he'll benefit by it. We cannot say no, there is nobody. Of course there are, and I wish there were more. The only problem is if mankind could divert the resources of arms into plasma and peace, this planet, the way we put restriction, we say nobody can come into our country because we are very good and everybody wants to come here because we have everything, the way many European nations think and Americans think, or Canadian, we're so good, we put borders on. If mankind goes to the phase of using all the resources in arms in the elevation of the physicality and life of the man, I promise you one thing, carrying a passport from the earth will worth trillions because everybody wants to come here. Everyone wants to come and see this heaven. It's us which have closed the door of heaven on ourselves, nobody else. And it's time for it to open up. But we shouldn't be arrogant. Any other question or any other comment, or shall we call it a day?
Well, it does remind me of a joke that I reminded myself of earlier today, which was about the doors of heaven. And someone, finally gets up to heaven and been waiting for the doors of heaven to open, and they finally open up for him. And it's everybody there is like, there's yelling and screaming and there's chaos and havoc, and there's all kinds of bad stuff going on and so on. He's saying like, well, this is heaven. What's going on here? And God says, well, this is the Christian heaven. And we use the gates of heaven to keep them all in here. So it turns out heaven had its gates and walls for keeping that group in, to let them do whatever they wanted to do in heaven. It's kind of funny. And I thought about that earlier today, and I thought, well, all the religions have their own heaven in a way, that they talk about the afterlife supposedly and whatnot. In the with the Muslim religion, for example, they would be getting the reward if you're you get your reward of the virgins in heaven and so on. That's their heaven. So that might be one walled off area that's supposedly the heaven that they go to, and it would be maybe next to the Christian heaven, where they go and do all the things they like to do in heaven, supposedly. But for the man who wants to go to space, it's not that's not the destination, is that kind of heaven. Is that correct, Mr. Keshe? How can we get a handle on what the religious authorities have said over the years for all of the different religions, of if you, when you die, that you go to heaven supposedly? Yeah.
Actually, if you rephrase it, when you die, you are in heaven, because you got detached from the physicality which bounded you to all this mess.
Right.
There is
And that's, yeah, that's
is a time when we don't detach, and then the soul says,
well,
that's it, I'm doing it myself, that's it, I'm free.
okay, well, that's probably at that exact point where someone thinks I'm free, and then, oh, what do I want to do? I want to do something, and whatever it is you think of, bang, you're no longer in heaven. You're then back in some physicality, trying to do that thing that you were, stuck on in the physicality habit, perhaps. Otherwise,
I can tell you a story. You know, the guy who got his, he worked all his life to get his diploma. And when he got the diploma, he put a string on the back of his trousers and put a rope with string on the diploma, and the diploma was chasing it. And I said, what are you doing? He says, for all my life, I chased to get him. Now I got him, now he has to chase for me, after me. And it's the same with us. We chase to do everything to go to heaven, but in fact, at the point of detachment of physicality, that what we've been chasing has become part of us, is ahead of us, and the physicality is behind, and it's got no meaning. It's what it's the false expectation which has been created to steal the soul of the man. Anyone who speaks in the way of heaven, you do this and you go to heaven, it means I already have imprisoned you. Because life is heaven. Wherever you are, you have to enjoy life the way it is. Harshness, goodness, badness, in terrible time, in a good time, in joy time, in whatever. There is something to learn from it. It brings you a lot of wisdom. I remember sitting in Canadian, what I call, whatever they want to call it, and I was there for the reasons they wanted me to be there, and I watched there the others who were in there, and many times I thought, my name, my place will survive this thing, what they put. And as every morning or a couple of times a day I was reminded what they're going to do with me, I became detached from physicality, and it was peaceful, knowing that I might not see my children again, knowing that the guy was so proud to be so arrogant every time. And it got to the point, is this life worth it? Is this cycle to go through this worth it? So I became more detached. In so many ways, it was a test for me to become totally detached from physicality. And it made a huge impact on the future of the Keshe Foundation. They imprisoned my physical body, but they opened my soul that I started preaching so bad, so massively, that it put fear on every government, every nation. And now we see, in a very, very soon time, not a long time to go, the position has changed so much that I wonder those officers ever will utter their names out of their voice box. Because at the end of it, they can blame everyone what they put in front of them they have to do, but there's them who's done the job. And in that process, becoming detached, it brought a lot of peace. And in so many ways, I entered heaven in the cells of Canada. And nothing matters anymore, because they've done what they could do. It can't go any worse. What can they take? Physicality, and it's not worth it anymore. And this is what we got to learn. Every second is a heaven, but anything else, anybody else you have to do to get to it, it means I've stolen the time of you being in the heaven. So it's very, we don't need to go through what do you call it, physical death to find it. We got to appreciate every second is heaven. How much can we let others enjoy this and share it with us? And this is the beautiful way what you learn from the others.
And yet it took a traumatic event, a very strong emotional event to get to that point in effect. So that what I'm reminded of is, if we see others suffering or going through hardness and toughness in their life, we have to understand that that might bring them to that point of detachment and reflection on their life and what is really worthwhile, and to appreciate the important things, the more important things, let's say, after that event, and make big changes to agree to help others more and serve in a higher capacity and that kind of thing.
No, we always serve, but you understand, it's very much a lot of people who go through traumas, through cancer, they start analyzing their position of their life. But instead of going through what I call regrets, it's just got to become a joy. I enjoy every second I'm here, doesn't matter. At least I know my soul is free to serve in any dimension. And I think the heaven for man starts from the time he takes the first breath on this planet. He just does not appreciate it in a physical dimension. It's just that they have made it harsh for us to believe that it would reverse, that we have to finish. But the heaven starts from the second you come. As I tell to Caroline many times, I've come here to enjoy the pleasure of physicality because it's so beautiful to enjoy it. At least you can physically touch it and put in your memory of the soul. And it's the wrong way. The whole thing has been turned upside down, inside out, for those who can want to be benefited by it, by the what we call the labor and the life of the others.
Good day, Mr. Keshe.
Good morning.
Mr. Keshe, there's something. Sometimes I understanding, and sometimes it skip away from me. Is the is everything there for a purpose? That means your life here, there is a purpose of it, and everything is um, rewrited. Everything, the soul is right. Everything, your path, your ways, everything, or the here the physicality and the emotion who is in control.
Um,
Who is in control in this situation?
you are. I explained this once to, I think, one of my children. I'll put it this way, we carry a notebook. I'm going shopping. I need bread, I need food, I need ice, whatever, whatever, whatever. And the rest, it doesn't matter. How I get to the supermarket, how I get to the shop, how many bags I have to carry. But how many of you carry a notebook and write down today I'm going to serve this, I'm going to help this and that, or at the end of the day, I served this, I did this, I helped others to be comfortable, I did something to elevate another soul, be it whatever. And make a checklist for service. Because soon we start doing it. And then, is there a purpose to this life? Yes. You're here to serve, not yourself. Even though you have there to support it that you can serve it. There is a purpose in life. It's just man has got it the wrong way around. And with what we see coming up, as I said in the teaching of today, the establishment of world peace will bring that in line. We will crave to have something to do to serve because somebody else has already said what we wanted to do, to serve somebody else. The race of the man will crave and will suffer in not serving very soon because all his physical needs will be satisfied. You are doing it as part of the Keshe Foundation. Those of you who do the medical, those of you who do the energy, those of you who do agriculture, is all coming to one point to make it comfortable that there is more food, there is enough energy, there is enough everything else that the other humankind are painless. They are satisfied. There is no other purpose. Why are we doing all this teaching? Why are we doing that? We can create more food with the gas water and we can create a patches that can change the cancer and the rest of it. And in that process, we are learning heavily. And very soon, the shopping list will become a serving list. You watch, it'll be there. It's happening on other planets. When a man basic needs, when any race basic needs of confirming existence and continuous existence of the soul exists, the race goes inwards than outwards, which means it goes in to find the best way to give, because in a way it purifies the soul. There is a purpose, and the purpose is to serve and not to exact to be served, and serve through the soul of the man, not the physicality of the man.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
Hello. Hello.
Hello, yes.
Hi, it's Mernes from France. Thank you very much, everybody. I wanted to add something to Mr. Rick's commentary about in paradise there are beautiful girls with beautiful eyes. Well, thanks God, there's a place for women. The ladies, in the Quran it says it's the paradise is the gardens forever with the rivers going under these gardens. In these gardens, there's all kinds of fruits, vineyards, and they can eat as much as they want every poultry and any fruit they want and any desires. And for the ladies, there are the young, forever young boys with big eyes or not, at their service, which pass around them with containers of wines and drinks, which doesn't make them drunk and give them headache. And in heaven, everybody says peace unto you without saying the words which are not fit. And so that's the reward for anybody who believes and does right. And also says that men and women both receive the reward of whatever they do or afterwards. So it's completely equal, men and women, no difference. And so for the woman also, and there are high seats. They are sitting in front of each other, and there are clothes like silk, and and then of course there are girls who are forever virgin, with big eyes and white face for their husband, lover of their husbands. So it's not just for men, it's for everybody, the heaven. And the thing is, it's not just you pray, you do salat, or you go to Hajj or whatever. It's just you should believe and do good work. As said Mr. Keshe, it's like a bank. You put good things, and then you get rewarded with the just way. It says also in Quran, you do like an atom of good, you receive good. An atom of bad, you receive bad. So ladies and gentlemen are equal.
As you know, the word heaven, in essence, if you read the English literature, comes from the word of Behesh, it comes originally from Iran. It's part of the Persian literature. The word heaven was written by, and in what we understand from the Persian language, and it was the essence of, we have a garden and the water flows in there and there is food and it's all pleasures of life. You don't have to do anything. Everything, we call it the garden. We call it the Bagh in Farsi. And in so many ways, heaven is the imagination of the physical life of what we call in Persian Behesht. And it's come through that word. It's been described because nobody else could describe what it is till the Persians could do it the way it was. And somebody said, this is heaven. You come in, the garden, the water, the food, and all the pleasures that it gives, the comfort to the physicality. And in so many ways, as we say, heaven is a state of mind. There are so many people who have so much and are never happy, and there are those who have very little and are more happy in not having anything. And is for us heaven according to the needs satisfaction, or is the heaven for us the need to satisfy others? I was listening to a talk by a very famous doctor in psychology, and he has regular programs, and some of his talks goes back into how we have become so selfish and how we have in that level, protect ourselves even by the birthrights and levels of birth. It's called Dr. Halakui, and he does a lot of red blood teachings. And if we understand these teachings, if you understand these share of knowledge that every one of us has gained, we are on heaven. But as I said, nowadays knowledge has become patent and is scared that if I share it, I might not have it. I called the patent, the patent writing and patent rights has become thieving from the others. And thieving is not that they're gonna steal from me, is that I'm stealing from them. I don't want to share with them, it's mine. If you look at the patents in back to front, is in fact, in reality, is I'm stealing from them, I'm not sharing it. Because when you have something and you're supposed, I'm doing this pattern to help the others to make something that it makes life more comfortable, why do you put in there that nobody can do it unless I get paid? So in fact, you're stealing from people, from the other souls to be. And this is part of what we have to understand. We have created everything back to front and we have justified it that everybody else has accepted it. If we look now in the way we see the Western world has, it makes so much arms that he has to do something with it. Everybody has become criminal and everybody is something wrong, that they have to start a revolution to be able to sell their arms. And there is something wrong with everybody, because I cannot create mayhem to sell. And this position will change. One of the progress of peace is very soon, very, very soon, any nation which produces arms become a terrorist nation in the essence of the soul of the man. And then we understand how the structure will go. Because if you don't make the arm, you don't create terror. So is as I said, it's not the soul of the man who shoots a gun. It's the soul of the man who designed the gun, taught the gun, made the bullet. Everybody has to pay for it. And we are getting to a point that this, what I call warmongering system, will come to an end. Because now we are blaming those who use the gun. The table is changing very, very rapidly. We see it in the structure which is coming out. The terrorist nations will become the nations who produce the arms. Because if they don't produce it, they don't create condition for it to be used, and then when it's used in a way they pay for it, will change. Then, as you call it, the heaven will come, because nobody wants to buy arms when I know it's me who's doing it. We'll see in a coming time, there'll be banned on those who work in, what do you call it, defense arm making to kill. We still can run these factories, as even last week or the week before Rick said, to change bomb manufacturing into making bombs that it does the same thing in a different way, but spreads for the food production, allows continuity. Why don't we use these huge bombers instead of putting bomb in there to destroy? We've seen the hurricane which happened in the Caribbeans, and we saw the video how it's come. Why don't we use these technologies to bomb every island with a gas water? Because we know it works, we've seen it. There is still army, there is a need for making bombs, but it's the bombs of what I call culture, creating more. Islands cannot be hit anymore, we can protect it. I'm prepared to be the captain of one of these planes that can bomb as many CO2 bombs everywhere and zinc oxide, that only I bring peace to the island, I bring joy to the people, because everything gets elevated. We have to change our position. We have to change the school of thought, and we have to change to understand more that the problem is not our neighbor. most beautiful. The problem is us, that it doesn't close your eyes not to look at that beauty with the wrong eye. Then every man is beautiful, every woman is beautiful, because the beauty is the eye of the beholder. You don't look over the other side. As I always said many times, when the Arabs came to Iran, they forced the Zoroastrians to put chador to cover the face of their body of the woman. And the Iranian priest said very simply, we put that chador, that curtain in front of our eyes, that our women can walk free. This is what the problem is. We don't trust ourselves, so we blame the others. And when you go about men and women are equal, we haven't seen much of it. There's a lot of talk.
Excuse me, Mr. Keshe. I have a question. I don't know if it's relevant. Who is going to take care of that? That Diablo, Satan, who is making people do wrong at the end. I feel like it's getting lighter. Is it because
You see that whatever you call it, we created that ourselves to not allow to our beauty to manifest itself, out of fear of our own weakness. As I said, the guy said in one of the Universal Council meeting, I'm the devil advocate. I said, we have no devil, and he doesn't need any advocate to do his job unless you are trying to pretend. We do not need to do if we trust in what we do is right, and what we do has to be right. This is the problem. We find every excuse to blame everything else except our own conduct. It's okay, we think wrong. It's a human. We get angry. We want to do this and that. But in that moment of anger, stand still. What I do, is it right? Would I harm somebody else? Or am I harming because I want to prove I'm right and somebody's done wrong to me? It's us who has created all these words for not allowing the strength of our soul to reach our physicality, and we cut it with emotions.
Yeah, but somebody put that first fear in our mind.
It's us. It's us who puts it. In Accra, the manager of Accra has a brother, and he's a man in his late 60s, and in Ghana, there is a lot of belief in black magic. They put a black lock in your garden, that it means everything is locked. You're gonna have a bad lock. We can have everything else. And when we were in Accra, in one day we found 3 of these locks. I don't know. To me, it was another lock. Maybe they couldn't open the gate. They broke the lock, and then how was the lock locked? It doesn't matter. And then somebody explained to me what it means. They said this house is bad luck because there are so many locks they put here and blah blah blah. I collected them and I said to our guy, what happens to this? What do you have to do with this if it's supposed to put a bad image on you? He said, oh, we have a tradition. I was actually talking about it when I was there the last time. And the tradition was, I said, what is the tradition? Oh, sorry, excuse my French. You have to urinate on it, and then you have to take it and throw it in a public toilet. I said, are you joking? He said, no, this is the only way you can get rid of it. And you don't touch it. Don't touch it, Mr. Keshe. I'll do it. I said, no, I want to come and see what you're not doing. That's why they have taken charge of you with a piece of metal. Anyway, the guy drove and went to a public toilet and came back. He said, it's finished, Mr. Keshe, you're free. I said, it's got nothing to do with it. It was there from the day we came, so it's to do with the guy being ours. And then I went to work to the atomic, and to me it was a joke. I was telling this joke to Ben and his brother, and he said, I don't believe in it. There is, if you believe in it, it'll come to you. I don't believe in it. Just don't, you don't believe in it, don't even think about it. I'm a 60-odd-year-old man. I just don't think about it. It's their problem. They want to control you, so you allow them. If you don't believe in it, they cannot touch you. We create these fears for ourselves. And when somebody says, I'm going to black magic you, I said, do. I'll give you love. See how much which one is stronger. You'll find out they go sick. We allow this, and this is a part of the process of these teachings. The strengthening the soul will see another soul as equal, not one to fear.
Thank you very much, all of you. And thank you, sir, for your constancy. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Brett had a question here, Mr. Keshe, if you're able to keep
Is he
going.
still alive?
No, it's a different Brett, I
Different
believe.
Brett.
This is Brett Headley. Brett, do you want to go ahead? Hello, Brett. I'll unmute you here and see what you're up to. Hello? Can you talk? Yeah. Okay, Brett doesn't seem to be coming through right now. Okay, we had one other person with their hand up, but I don't think they're able to speak because they don't have a microphone. Let me try. I'll promote them as a panelist. See, you do have a microphone now. Are you able to speak? Do you have a question? I'll unmute you and see. Hello, Like. Can you speak?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we do.
Hi. Good day, Mr. Keshe. I have a
Good day to
question.
you.
I was speaking to some Christians, the so-called Christians, and of course they wouldn't allow me to talk. And they insisting that there will never be peace in the Middle East. And it's in the Bible. And everybody has to believe in Jesus Christ before anybody can go to heaven. Basically, it's like they're fast forwarding the coming of Christ with that belief.
If you speak, if you speak to Muslims, they say the same thing, and if you speak to Jews, they say the same thing. But at the end of the day, they sit on the same pot and they get on the same plane and they eat the same food. It's the creation of fear. The work is to put a fear on you or in your conduct that what do you call it? Use of the same word for each other. The Jews call it Qur'an, which means non-believer. In Arabic, they call it kafir, with somebody who's a non-believer in God. In Christianity, we have different names for it, depends what they want to call it. In every language, for the fear of control, they have to make the others bad. So If you speak to Muslims, they tell you the same thing about the Jews. And if you speak to the Jews, they say the same thing about the Christians, and it goes the same. When a Christian tells you, when you ask about a religion, about his religion, he'll tell you, go and read about Quran first, go and read Torah first, and then you come to me, and then you understand we are all equal. Then that's a true Christian. And then you have actually, because you know it all, you gather the knowledge. And this is what they do, they put fear on you. This is very much the question Rick asked me earlier on. Do you think there are other people who do the research? Of course they do. And in some way we gotta bless their soul, because by them, somewhere down the line, one of us, somebody who works with the knowledge of the plasma we do and they do, most probably will come up with a new way to help somebody, maybe one person on this planet or something in the universe from that knowledge. So it's being arrogant and trying to put fear in the others, it shows the lack of trust in what you have. If you're a Baha'i, there's a very strange way for a lot of people. And if you are a Jew and you become a Baha'i, in the process you cannot just become a Baha'i. You have to accept Christ, which is difficult for a Jew. And on top of it, you have to accept Muhammad as well. And then if you accept the station of these two as a prophet of God, then you can become a Baha'i. Otherwise they don't register you. So by the time you get to become one, you have already understood the equality in all the faith. And how many others do this? How many others create punishment for the others to be kept out of? If, for example, in the structure of the Baha'i structure, in selecting people to run the administrative side, if two people get equal vote, they go back on the line of faith. Who the ancestors came out from, for example, a Jewish background and a Christian background, the one who has a Jewish background gets a priority because he had to sacrifice more in his emotion of accepting what was not acceptable to his descendant. But they still haven't managed to sort out, because now they become the same as the others themselves. So religion is the way we have, doesn't matter what you call it. I don't believe in any of the religions, because now I found out the religions is my soul. The correct conduct of my soul is my religion, because in the space there are no temples for me to pray on except the temple of my own soul. And if I'm correct with my soul, everything else is at peace. A fool shoots himself in the foot, as I always say, and goes to win the marathon.
Right.
And life is a marathon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Would you like to take a question from live stream, Mr. Keshe?
Yes.
From Sylvain. Says, Mr. Keshe, often when I observe my physicality, I feel like a puppet. When I walk, especially in nature, I have the feeling that to mark time, that it's the environment that turns. The feeling of being part of a script. It's a strange feeling. Our soul creates and projects continuously. And I ask myself this question: what do we live in? Physicality? Is it a dream or reality?
As I said, the physicality is a leech on the back of the soul of the man. So when you carry the leech, what's inside it has to go with it. So sometimes the soul takes over and says, I don't want to be in that physical condition. I didn't come to be interrupt or be trapped in this condition. But what do we get? We feel better when we are in open spaces and green spaces and we go into the parks. Isn't it that we receive more in the condition of the soul of the plants? Or is it just the green which makes us happy? Isn't there the existence of more soul? In our house, in our room, we have the bricks and maybe a soul of one person or two, or children, three. But when you go to a park now, we know the trees have a soul. Can you see how many plants and weeds and flowers and trees share their soul with you to elevate it? That's why we feel better when we go to these positions. Because there's millions of little things sharing with us and we get elevated. The soul is not our physicality. It's our soul which elevates, and then we feel good with it. We go to the parks. Because all those little souls share with us what they have. We look at the life the wrong way around. And now that we understand every plant, every shrub, every flower has a soul, and we say always the weaker receives from the stronger. When we, as a human race, our soul is so get battered every day that somewhere part of one strength of the soul is down. When we go to the park, when we go to this mass amount of souls, we receive it. Have you walked into a building which really makes you tired and every time you go there you feel sick? It's the staff who are not looked after and they transfer that emotion they take from the customers. And you go to a supermarket, but you like to go there because every time is joy. People come in, the staff are happy, and people come because they know they pay a fair price, so they come with happiness to go out. It's us who collect from the pool of the fields. So what's the difference? Why do we feel good when we go to the parks? Because we receive from the soul of what we call the vertical people. We were not aware of. Now we know. So when we go to a park, when you go to walk and feel good and the soul is separate, if you think you're something else while you're walking there, you're a puppet. Remember one thing, you must be so low and you're getting fed by everything in that planet. Everything, every single shrub is giving you a little bit because somewhere you need it to elevate yourself. Just think now and look at the whole structure of life with a new understanding of what we know now. What happens to you when you go to a concert and there are all happy people, you become happy too. And what happens when you go to a funeral, everybody's crying, you cry too. And vertical people are happy people, so they give to us and we elevate us. Any other question? I wish if any human being comes back and reports what they see in the ocean of the universe. And then you understand, it's just a playtime to be joyful and happy. There is no misery in the space. Everything is just where it's supposed to be, to the perfection. Any other question? Shall we call it a day?
I see Chao has his hand up. Maybe we can take one more question. Chao?
Yes. Hello, Ms. Kat. This is Chao, and you talk about the communication with souls, and in history, human invented lots of symbols to communicate, like the speaking language and the written language. They use words to communicate as some like symbols, other tools, and also human invented math, which also can be viewed as a kind of symbol to convey some scientific ideas, and this pushes the science forward. And in my view, the Chinese tradition or culture or knowledge, yin and yang, is also a kind of symbol that people can use to communicate with nature itself. And so I was wondering, when you talking about communication in souls, is there any symbol that that people can use to communicate? And another question is, so can one person communicate with other souls without identifying his own soul, or without finding his own soul? Is that possible? Oh, thank you, Ms. Keshe.
Our souls communicate all the time. The communication is finding balance. And in so many ways, we always are in communication with our soul. Otherwise, we wouldn't have the emotion. The emotion is where our soul gets interfered with before it reaches physicality. And then the interference creates the physical condition. You feel happy, you interfere with the physical part of it, and what happens, you start making a noise and your mouth opens and you laugh. So in fact, the interference of the emotion has created the physical condition of manifestation of what it is. And then you understand you have found the frequency of laughter. You call it joy, or you call it the emotion of being happy. So we know how to interfere. It's just like, as I call, you put a station, put some music on or propaganda, and the government finds a way to put a noise on it to interfere it, call it politics or whatever in French. So at the end of it, you're sitting by the radio, you hear instead of the music which was coming. And I used to call it the voice of America. If those of you who are old enough, you know what it means. The understanding of it is we always know where our soul is, because we know how to create fields to interfere with it on the name of emotion that it shows its manifestation in physical condition. So use that route instead of coming into the physical condition. Now do you know where to go, what frequency, and find the beaker which send that noise that you interfered with. Then you found the path to your soul. And the souls always communicate. You'll be very, very amazed why you have been put in a position. The soul brings you, which means he has to find his balance. You're not doing it. The other soul has moved somewhere else. And then it brings you to be there because that's the point of balance. But the physicality has to follow the soul this time. It turns up. As I said to somebody once, he said, "Do you know something happened? My wife found me with my mistress in the restaurant, and you want to know the commotion?" I said, "You stupid boy. You created that condition, and the soul brought her in that position. That's where he found the balance of the peace, because he knew you're up to something. It's not that what happened, it's the soul who brought it to give peace to it. The soul brings you in the position where you have to be, that the other souls who are of the same, to find a balance. As I said, if man start understanding everything the right way, man understands how much he has fooled himself with it. We say, I happened to be there and this happened. You don't say, I did something that I had to be in that position. My soul brought me for me to happen to me to learn something from it. Doesn't matter what you do. It's very much like when you make a food. It boils, and how many times do you test it? I taste a little bit. No, it needs a little bit more cooking, and I taste again. Oh, it's a little bit of salt and a little bit of sugar, till it reaches the point which satisfies all emotions of your physicality: the smell, the taste, the odor, the texture. And then when you finish the food ready, comes the other pleasure. You put it on the table and you expect to see your wife, your children, or your husband enjoy it. And you get a feedback from the joy from their faces, from their soul in your soul. It's us who put that pot on the fire, and it's us who keeps on tasting. And it's us who creates the condition to be on the table to see what we get from us, others in respect to us. We are positioned, and when we don't do it right, we cannot see the joy of the others. It's us who makes this position of the soul because of our physical conduct. It's us who keeps on tasting the food that is perfect, and when we put it on the table, we see joy in the face of the family or the friends. How many of you made food and says, okay, I put 2 more spoons of salt in that nobody eats it? Unless you are unbalanced in trying to gain attention from the soul of the others. Anything else? We're running nearly to 10 or 15 minutes into third hour.
Yeah, it's probably time to end things now, I think, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you very much for what I call 208 or...
Good morning, Mr. Keshe.
Good morning, Mr. Keshe. There we are. I told you the heaven has opened.
I want to congratulate you with the anniversary of not only you, but the whole team, because you and I and the foundation would have never done it or made it without teamwork. As one family, we have achieved a lot, and they're still working around the clock. And each and every single soul, we are so grateful that you're working and you're dedicating your life to achieve world peace. And especially you, Mr. Keshe, for all your work, all your effort, all your dedication. It's been a rough road, but it is more than worth it, because every single soul that we can give some peace, they can share their peace with so many other souls.
We've been through a rough ride.
The ride is not finished yet.
Well, there's a saying with that they used to say with the old carriages that had greased axles, and if you didn't have a rough road, then the axle grease would not spread properly and it would burn the axle. So it takes sometimes a rough road to spread the grease around to make everything work properly.
I think we've taken too much grease. But at the end of it is worth it.
A little bit too much, I think.
Enough grease. It's up to her neck. Yeah.
But it has received and given all the colors of the rainbow for sure.
Well, if it's any consolation, I mean, we talk about rough times. We've basically had to deal with the pedophile at one point and this kind of thing. And if it's any consolation, there's just a news item where the major doctor for the Olympics and so on has just been put in prison for life for his sexual abuses and so on over the last decade or two. And this is the kind of thing that seems to be just commonly coming to light now. And back a few years ago, and Mr. Keshe started engaging this kind of idea, it was totally, taboo. It was something wasn't talked about, and now it's brought out in the open. It's been given light, you could say, and it's totally changed everything on the planet right now. And women are coming forward, and their cases being presented, and with much more compassion and so on. So it's interesting times, and we're definitely going through some major changes on this planet currently. And as Mr. Keshe has tempted us with this idea that there's even bigger changes coming shortly. We're very
You
thankful for
see,
changes.
what we will see very soon. I think we saw a very big clash against the Catholic Church in the past couple of weeks in South America. A lot of people will start moving away from Catholicism, and we see it because the people who are abused are there, and the man stands there and he says it never happened. Show me. We are here. It happened to us. No, you don't count because you talk. And this is the problem which we have. And we saw this happening in Austria. In Austria a few years ago, some 90+% used to go to church. And with the opening up pedophilia and the priest, now it's dwindled in Austria to very few percentage. Now the what you call misconduct has created a massive. There are reports coming in South America that millions are walking away because they have to believe the man who lies or the people who stand there, many of them who are the victims. In the past, people just overlooked them, that there's nothing there, they blah, blah. But 1, 2, 3, hundreds of people. So it's very much, it's not just with that, we see it in different aspects of the faith. Different religions are all walking to the same position. And what is interesting to see, what is the outcome of this? Or we create a new condition that every man is respected, because we have to consent to anything we want to consent, not to be forced, and at the same time not to be put in a position of being lied to just bypass, and it will come back. It will just blow over. Nothing ever blows over. It'll come back. It will come back in one way or another. We see the same thing in governments in different positions. At the moment, everything is covered up regarding the Catholic Church and Christianity, because they have the media called whatever, because one of them owns all of it. Let them open up and you will see what comes out. And there will be nothing left. When I say we will see the stones of place to be returned to their origin, we know what's happening is about to happen. Because denying has caused, and we'll see more. We see people who claim to be and are around, and now we have, as I said last week, we have evidence of all sorts of things on them. All sorts. And those who've been in it, they denied it. We have those on them who denied too. But it's how it'll be handled is the position. In a position, we have to understand misconduct in any shape or form has to be according to what it is, balance of the souls. Doesn't matter what name you put on it, religion, politics, diplomacy, home, or whatever. If you find out what's the reason and you can correct it in a correct way, you can walk away with it because you bring balance in. If you try to cover it up and then you lie about it, it'll come out in a very way. At the end of the day, you're the loser. And we see as I said, very, very huge changes coming up. People cannot be lied to. There is a talk in the background we hear that they will prevent a certain number of these people ever traveling out of their position. There is a talk that the change has come, the moves have come. It's just that I prefer to keep quiet till it actually comes in open and in public. We still follow cases the way before we used to go for people who we used to expose. Doesn't mean we are quiet. We are collecting information in a massive way on the operation of these people. Then those who, what we call, consider themselves that got away with it by destroying documents and communications. The beauty with the present internet is nothing goes missing. You put it on it, it can be found. But you need the people who can. A lot of people write and delete. If you're after it, you can find it. But the whole thing is, you want to see the script or do you want to talk about it and put it right? There are videos that these people are heavily trying to hide. It won't be there. It's not that we brought the case up and we suffered so much by it. It's that we have brought the wind of the change, and those who deceive will sit quiet. A lot of us, we understand, we'll see what is coming up, we'll see it. I remember the day when the bunch of loadings of the Keshe Foundation disappeared on the internet because a pedophile wrote and claimed himself to be perfect and not been assaulted. They did it for a second time. And we were careful. I haven't heard from any of the channels writing back to us as we apologize for what we did. Soon they will. I remember Rick going crazy with it. Mr. Keshe, we're going to lose it for the third time, if this and that. But it was worth it. When, you remember?
Well, yeah, I still can't sign on to live stream with my regular email address because they banned me from live stream. But that's okay. It was all totally worth it. Yes, absolutely.
When I sit down, and many times I've thought about it, when Sterling's daughter go to bed and they have the surety of that guy is not there to rape them that night, with whatever excuses he came out with, I think again that fear, even though there's no father at home, is more than putting a sick-minded person on the street and everybody being afraid of it. This is the problem. We are looking at a huge move on this side. These things we don't want to talk about because they start moving, but you will see ban on airlines very soon.
Well, definitely we're seeing a lot of action, at least in North America, in fact, all around the world. You know, there's other examples I could give of the top Olympic coach for Canada isn't allowed to go to the Olympic Games coming up in South Korea because he mysteriously got canned or is not allowed to travel at this point. And there's
it's all sorts of them. The best one, I think, is the investigation by the Australian government into affair of the church and telling the church to clean up and stop abusing children. But we can't close you down because then, do you know what is funny about the present religions, which makes me really amazingly laugh, is that why do we allow these people which abuse the soul of the man to have a tax-free income? Since when this is allowed? This is
yet
very
the poor
strange
people they're supposed to take care of are the ones that are getting taxed and have to pay.
Very much. We leave it because we see the change, and as I said, we keep very, very quiet in what we are doing in the background. We are working in the background, the whole Keshe Foundation team, and those who support us are working their way. We keep quiet. and you will see the whole people who are very close to us know, and when they listen, they say, "Why isn't it telling it? Or why is it keep quiet? At least wait a few bit." But you will see the merge of the emergence of correct way of doing things and work of the foundation coming up time.
Well, Mr. Keshe, Caroline has just sent a link out to the people here in the chat and to me personally. It's just it's a news link that's more on the optimistic end of things, which is that North Korea sends rare announcement to all Koreans calling for unification. And they're really putting through apparently a strong message that they have this breakthrough that they are promoting about wanting to get together with South Korea and diffuse the military tension and create a peaceful climate on the Korean Peninsula. So this is like a new announcement. Of course, they've sort of been at that background, but
yeah, but you got to remember, I've sat down with South Korean unification minister in 2 or 3 breakfasts when I was in Seoul. The desire for peace is there, but I have, knowing the information we carry, I hope you're wrong, but we see this, if it is true, a massive deception on a what I call unbelievable scale. But we always have to look at it if it's true, and I hope it's true. But what we see, but you got to understand when it started from the last week of January when we opened some documents, or we gave the message, coded message to those who want to live here. And we saw immediately within a week, just opened, it's less than 4 weeks old, what we disclosed in the teaching. And it's not coincidental, and we know exactly what's happening. But as I said, the situation is very critical in the Korean Peninsula, and having access to all sorts of things in knowledge and technology we understand. I like to be very, very, very quiet because, as I said, in 3-4 hours breakfast with the unification ministers of the government, I can tell you a lot, and I hope this could be true, but we'll see. We'll see.
very good. Thank you, Mr. Keshe, for all your comments today, and
thank you very much,
looking
Mr.
forward
for 218 tolerating a lot of things.
208, actually, yes.
Yeah,
that's
plus 10 extra ones
18,
before
that's
that.
right. Yes,
280.
thank you. Yes, that's right.
I've seen you many times grinding your teeth and saying, oh, shall I switch it off? It's going too far. Not this time. He wasn't supposed to say that.
Yeah. You and the attendees, I don't know who's worse. You've been very good in the last dozens of Knowledge Seekers Workshop, Mr. Keshe, and I've learned to contain yourself somewhat there, which is a good thing.
No, because let me explain something for those people who don't understand. For 10 years, we tried to do what we were trying to do, and they did what they tried to do, and they thought they got away with it, and that gave us a chance to open up, because we want to get them there, and they blocked us in every shape or form. But now, because they've done it themselves, they can't block it. It's a very, very strange situation. We were crying to be heard, to be given justice. Most of my anger was, we're not given a platform to let know what has happened. And now they've given us the plan. I told you, the soul brings things in position, and the soul has brought everything to position. We're looking forward. That's why we went quiet, because we don't need, we were shouting to get this for 10 years. Everybody knows what they've done to us. And Now we got it. We're calm. We are very collective. We're planning. We are very direct online, and I think even there could be a big problem on the 18th of April for those who done. Some people will disappear. Some people 100% will disappear because we know what is going to happen before that time. And in that process, there is a heads of a state who have to answer for it. And if they're part of it, they'll go with it. And you say, I control myself. We've been shouting for 10 years to be given the chance to show what's happening. And they gave it to us. We didn't ask for it. They thought they're very clever. And when you get justice, why should you shout? We are there. We are on track. We will deliver, and we might not even get to the point of delivery because they will deliver themselves to it. Otherwise, we always kept our composure. It's not easy when you go through, as Caroline said, what we went through. I held a woman in my hand with no heartbeat in an Italian hospital with the poisoning. I walked out of one of these teachings for children, and my son was poisoned. Says, Papa, I don't feel good. There is something. And then we found out there was all the things on the papers, on the toys he was teaching with. We got justice. I'll get justice for humanity, not just us. We went through a lot of rough time. But in one way or another, this is what sometimes takes to change 1,000 years of misconduct. But now we are home. I'm home. I'm at peace. Not only in where I am, and in the people who are around us, and in the course we have taken. Very soon you will understand. We have found home, and we are home. We are home. We are at peace, and in so many ways, we have found home. And home to me is very peaceful, and you can serve. And I think Carol and I and our children can say we have found home to be at peace. Some 30 years of exile is
over. That actually, let me just have one last question before you end, because that was the question I had that I made up earlier in my mind today, which is when we're in space, do we have a home? Is there a
our
home
soul
place?
It's our soul. We have nowhere to go to except our own soul.
So the soul is the destination, you might say, of being in space.
So many ways. Being amongst the other stars while you're a star yourself, that's being home, isn't it? To shine, to serve. Thank you very much. Hopefully next week we want to learn.
Excuse me.
Thank you.
Can I add something? Can I add something, please?
Yes, please.
I'm very affected because of the poison that you carry. I don't know what we can do for it. Very, very sad about it. Because I know that, I'm sure that we are just the upper part of the iceberg that is seen. But there are a lot of waves of people behind us. And I know some people, I hear by videos, that their only hope in the world is the changes you can make. They are just at the end of their tolerance. And we are just what is seen, but there are a lot of people behind us which have no other hopes, I assure you. And so That's why it's much, much more appreciable. I mean, we should be special to be to know a legend alive. So a lot of people are behind us, which are desperate for the help. So thank you very much, you and Mrs. Keshe, and your constancy. And I hope we get somewhere also.
Thank you very much. Thank you indeed. We meet next week, same time, same place. And if you remember, the song says Mrs. Jones, if you remember. Goes back to the beautiful singers as we meet at the same time, same place, same cafe. And our cafe is the Keshe Foundation Knowledge Seekers Teaching. And I hope you enjoyed the coffee. Thank you very much, and see you next week.
Okay, thank you as always, Mr. Keshe. Okay, that brings to an end the 208th Knowledge Seekers Workshop for Thursday, January 25th, 2018. Thank you so much, everybody, for attending, and thank you for attending our previous workshops and future workshops and all of our activities. Okay. Whoops, we should have muted that channel. Let's end our workshop. We're going to end on our musical with 200 images of the previous Knowledge Seekers workshops for you to enjoy. And I believe we have that ready to go. Thank you, everybody, and bye for now.
Thank you, Rick, for being there.
And back to you, Flint, for, back to you, Vince, for being there for the whole time, and Flint for being there for later workshops as well.
Yes, happy to serve.